creating, when we do the engagement, in some manner of using those kind of things that are lessons and education in those belts. That's really important because this has happened with the belts hundreds of years ago that we stopped hurting one another. So if we could use that with our voice, our tongue, and remind people as they come in a meeting that we, are Native people and we respect one another and not here to harm one another at all, but to listen to each other. So that would be really nice if we could use some of that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Melba. And just for everybody, we are now live, so welcome to community. This is our political liaison meeting, and we are unfortunately cannot see us yet. But we do have presentations happening by Tabitha and Tyler. And so right now, then, we have a recommendation. Audrey, you have a question? Or you want to move?
I'd like to move the recommendation with a question.
Okay, so let me read the recommendation for community, so we're all on the same page. So recommendation 4.1, whereas the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council commission the SNGR Community Engagement Standards Project via a request for proposals on RFP Community Engagement Standards through Trevor Bomberry, Executive Director of Nation Building. Whereas a SNGR working group was formed to guide the project and to eliminate confusion, rename the project Community Engagement Process. Whereas the Six Nations of the Grand River Community Engagement Process Working Group has completed the project and is submitting the work, implementation, and management plan to Six Nations Grand River Elected Council for review and approval. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council accept the recommendation from the Community Engagement Process Working Group and approve the Six Nations of the Grand River Community Engagement Process and Six Nations Grant of the Grand River. Is that a typo? Oh, no, sorry. And the Six Nations of the Grand River Community Engagement Process 10-step guide and the implementation and management plan. Be it further resolved that Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council directs all departments and associated entities of Six Nations of the Grand River to use the Six Nations of the Grand River Community Engagement Process and the 10-step guide for all proposed projects effective immediately. Okay, so that is the recommendation. Audrey is moving with a question.
Okay, my question is that you mentioned April 1st start date, and this is effective immediately.
Yes, the draft SNCR that we submitted didn't have effective immediately in the wording. It was, do we have that PowerPoint presentation?
Can you put that back up? So can we revise the dates to take effect April
1st. So it has, it's if we just end it, take out effective immediately at the end, then it's going to be implemented based on the recommendations of the working group, which has that phased in approach of it. It gives them 3 months to get up to capacity. It gets a launch and education period, and then April 1st, off we go. I tried to get Zach to, I was like, October 1st, here we go. And you put your email address in there, and he was excited.
But I thought there was a mistake there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I so move.
Okay, moved by Audrey. Do I have a seconder? Correct.
Effective immediately.
Okay, moved by, or seconded by Nathan. And any other final questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Does anybody oppose? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Okay. So that gives you time to put it into action.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't think we need second reading.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah. Do we need second reading, Shirley?
Yeah,
But it's not effective immediately.
Perfect. Just before we go, thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciated this project. I've met some of you obviously previously, so this project has been a great. I think it's a good first step, and we'll continue to frame it out with Zachary's department. So have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, Council.
Okay, this is good. So let's move right along. We have the adoption of today's, the political liaison minutes of September 11. Have a good day, everyone. Has everybody read the minutes from our previous political liaison meeting? Do I have a mover? Moved by Melva and second by Greg. Is there any changes, corrections to those minutes? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion is carried. The next piece is the recommendation from consultation and accommodation process team. So we have Taylor Hill in the chambers with us. Taylor, if you want to update the community on what's been happening with CAP. Thank you.
Okay, so this month's report is also includes August, since there wasn't a August political liaison, so it's the end of July after the last July, August, and then it's September. So I guess a couple of things to note is now that with the Peel region dissolving, we are now meeting with Caledon, the city of Mississauga, and city of Brampton. We had an introductory meeting with the city of Brampton for their Indigenous relations team and how we would like to receive more information and be involved more in their projects going forward. Another thing to note is we've been working with the Rouge National Urban Park. They have a turtle release program, so we were invited to look at where they keep the incubation for the turtles and help release. So we released snapping turtles and landing turtles in the month of August. As they it's now in their 10th. They also partnered with the Toronto Zoo, so that's one's the 10th year, and then the one they have by themselves in I think about 5 years they've been doing it. So it's going to be a continued partnership with them for coming years, and hopefully it grows bigger. And then in general, there is we've been having some meetings with the MTO on their different projects. To note, for the 413 and similar projects, they have taken it up to their higher ups that we wanted to have a separate meeting to discuss accommodation for those projects. So that meeting is in the works. And then we also had we had a site visit for one of the city of Brantford developments happening. So the Wayne Gretzky Parkway North expansion. So our wildlife and stewardship team, along with the rest of the CAP team, went out to look at the actual space where it's going to go. And they had their environmental consultant there to answer any questions about what was being left untouched or touched and what kind of species were found. And then I don't know if Peter has any other projects that he would like to highlight.
No, Taylor, I think you've highlighted all the key themes in the report.
So if anyone has any questions, I can take them now.
Yeah, hi, Taylor. There's been, some, I guess, some rumblings of the expansion of the arena in Brantford and also the development of those lands. Have they approached our CAP team on that? That land that's just adjacent, I believe, to the arena and also the expansion of the arena itself?
Peter, are you aware of that project?
I'm aware of the project, but we have not had discussions with the city about it to date.
Okay, so yeah, Sherry Lynn had brought that up prior, and so I'm assuming the team will be following up within the next week. Thank you. Helen?
Yes.
No, I was going to say I brought that up too, and I wrote a couple of emails about it. I just thought maybe somebody would have been up there talking, especially with the those apartments. Now there's another one going up right where that train station is. So we need to get on the ball here and start talking to these people.
If I can just mention briefly, we did last week begin discussions about the Freshco Plaza redevelopment in the area. Thank you.
Okay, so that is in the vicinity, but yeah, there is a lot of land that is being developed. Okay, Phil?
Yes, I think there needs to be a bit of a clarification. You have a council has a political team meeting with Dunville, excuse me, with Brantford, and I think the CAT team on many fronts have been excluded from those discussions, so we really don't know what the left hand and right hand are talking about here. I think there needs to be that clarification. And
Can I just interject? What did you call that team?
it's a bit of a political liaison. I think the nation builder, your political advisor, and the chief have been meeting with the city representation, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't really know, like, and to my knowledge, Lonnie's not been included in those discussions as to the overall what is happening. So I think just a bit of homework to clarify whose roles doing what here.
Thanks for that, Phil. And I think if you were sitting around the table here, we're just as confused as, I mean, just as surprised as the news that you just shared with us. So, yeah, before we move on, Phil, do you have more?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Melba?
Yeah, excuse me, I just wanted to ask Phil, are you talking about the tripartite meetings that we've had in the past a long time ago when we used to meet at Mount Pleasant, but is that the one you're talking about?
No, there's been ongoing meetings, to my understanding, that's happened within the city limit with the city political bodies. Because the CAP team were meeting with a certain portion of the city staff, but then apparently they didn't like what we were challenging them on, and we were quite abruptly eliminated from those discussions. I'll just leave it at that. So there needs to be a better linkage going on here.
So we've had your department involved then, but not counselors, or was it just the chief?
No, if I could, we were involved. Maybe Christopher could speak up because he's been meeting with the city, to my understanding, and your nation builder, and there's been maybe a few
So
others.
let's, thanks, Phil. Thanks, Melba. Christopher, we're looking at you.
Yeah, just to clarify, there have been a couple meetings, probably one about 4 or 5 months ago and one last year with some senior staff, just to talk about potential high-level ways that we can improve processes. But nothing came out of those discussions in any kind of concrete way, and none of that should have any impact on consultation requirements that Six Nations has for the city. I would also add that, of course, the chief has routine discussions with the mayor. They see each other at various events from time to time and talk about various issues as well, especially as regards the provincial government. But again, none of that should impact consultation processes as well.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. And so I think the CAP team is still who should be talking. Melba?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it sounds like we need a closer consultation and I guess exchange with council as a whole, because some of these things, I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't know about some of these things that's happening with the city of Brantford, which I know should be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melba. And so with that, we need to approve the report that Taylor has provided to us. Do I have a mover to recommendation 6.1, whereas the consultation and accommodation process team provides a monthly report to Six Nations of the Grand River elected council to political liaison on their activities that is accepted as information. Do I have a mover with respects to this recommendation? Moved by Sherry Lynn, second by Audrey. Any final questions?
I do.
Sherry Lynn?
I think around the table, it's been mentioned before and regarding these updates in the sense of City Brantford, even Brant County. Is it possible to just seeing like 2 little paragraphs or 2 little things here? And when we go up there, you can see development everywhere. So you can think that there should be a lot more consultation, I guess I'm saying, Peter. I guess for me, I would like to see. I think I said like even just not one person, but I know there's not enough staff, but really focus on Brantford and Grant County, because even going on our walks and stuff, there's a lot of development happening, and it just make questions how much consultation do we know about at this table. So I guess for me, I would just like to see more for sure of highlights of Brantford and Grant County. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Sherry Lynn, and I think that's echoed by all counselors. I have Nathan next and then Greg.
Yeah, just to Sherry's point, I'm assuming that Brantford has a development plan and a planning office. And maybe that's the request, to get the development plan. That'll have everything in. And sent over to us. So just to suggest, I don't know if that's already been asked.
So we do have like quarterly meetings with some of the staff at Brantford, but they only can bring forth the projects that the city of Brantford is actually involved in. So I think a lot of these projects are outside proponents, so they don't usually, they're supposed to be doing, I guess, their own engagement and consultation. So when we do meet the staff, they do go through like the projects that they're involved in. But any like proponents that are building on the outside aren't reaching out or aren't included in those meetings.
They still should have a development plan as a municipality, though. I think it's a requirement, right? So I would just suggest we ask for that.
And yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. So I'll have Greg, then Sherry Lynn, then Helen.
Yeah, just to Nathan and Chair Lynn's point, I think that we required an immediate engagement, I think, with our CAP team and maybe a council representative to the same extent, like to be involved with all their development and their development plan. I don't know if that could be set forth and put in place fairly soon, but I think it's something that should be addressed fairly quickly.
Thanks, Greg. Helen?
Yeah, I was gonna say similar, like, we really need to get on Bradford and start talking to all those developers, because if you drive around and there's houses, they're almost, when you go out toward West Brant where the Assumption College is, there's roads and roads and roads and roads of houses going up. So that's probably Brant County, but I mean, we need to get on these developers. I was thinking even one time of going around and writing all the developers' names down, so and tell Captain, go talk to these people and tell them we want accommodation, but maybe that's what we need to do. Because they're all different developers, they're not all the same one. And now they're gonna start going on what's that road where Wendy's is? Going out of, when you come from the 403, you know, when you go that little shortcut, Gardenet, I don't know what it is. Anyway, they're gonna start doing that one big field on across from where Wendy's and McDonald's and all those places are on that road. I can't even think of the name of that road. Anyway, they were talked about doing that years ago. When our protesters were going up there with that one out on Grand River Avenue. And then it kind of died down, but I see now it's back again, and they're starting to ask for people to buy houses on that big property, Johnson property, I think it is, or something like that. Anyway.
Okay, thanks, Helen. Sherry Lynn, then Hazel.
Yeah, it was just a follow-up to Nathan and what Taylor said. And I guess those are the news clippings that we see in the paper of somebody signing off on these. And it's Brantford or signing off on all these things because they're gloating of how much money they're getting. And I guess that's the part that bothers me, is because there is so much development. We just need to pay a lot more attention to it when they're bringing in that kind of money, because Brantford is signing off on them.
Thank you. Hazel.
Yes, I would just like to say that I think Brantford and Brant County should also be made accountable to Six Nation in terms of their development. And when they're going to start some development program or process or whatever they're doing, within their documentation, they need to have a box where they check off Six Nations has been informed. Like, it would stand to reason, like, I know the CAP team, finds out about all of the developments, but still in all, I think they should hold some responsibility too, to have to do that. So nothing gets missed. Thank you.
Audrey, and then I'll go over to Peter.
And just along the lines of my, with my colleagues, I believe we should be putting a motion forward to have our CAP team meeting with the chief and council representatives on there to meet with Brant Ford and Brant County. Because this is following that Ford proposal he's got, build houses faster, whatever it's called. And the more that you build, the more money you get from the provincial government. So I think that also any engagement, we should be having engagement and accommodations for all this stuff that goes up. We deserve part of that because it's on our land. And I think we have to make sure that we meet with them to let them know that we would like to be accommodated for all the building going on around us in the tract. Thank you.
Okay. All good words. Peter?
Yeah, thank you. I definitely look forward to upcoming meetings. Perhaps if it helps council, perhaps for the next report, it might make sense to list and explain some of the projects we've recently been consulted on in Brant and Brantford. What you're seeing on this, the paper here and with the monthly report, it's projects that, the entire CAP team are involved in. When it comes to, kind of day-to-day developments, that tends to be more myself or our land use officer working on it. So, definitely in a typical week period, we'd have pre-consultations for developments, as well as just, written comments for development applications. The couple Taylor, I believe, mentioned a couple of the things we're working on with the expansion lands, that Wayne Gretzky Parkway, which is just one piece of several infrastructure the city is going to be putting in there, as well as the Tutela Heights, again, one of many subdivisions that'll be going in there as well. Just briefly comment a bit more on the arena. We have requested a meeting from Brantford. I guess from my personal perspective, it's more challenging, what kind of outcomes desired. They believe it's renovations that does not, kick in duty to consult. So any, better idea what council might seek to get from the arena project would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Peter. And I think the council would benefit from any information that you have because council from day one has been asking for the list and the updates ongoing. And so I have Taylor and then Audrey, and then we'll look at the motion.
I just wanted to add, I know Lonnie brings up accommodation with the city of Brantford every time we meet, and they're supposed to be bringing it up with their higher ups to have set up a meeting about it. It just hasn't occurred yet. But we do bring it up every time we meet with city of Brantford, like the working staff.
Okay. Thank you. Audrey?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we get our tripart team going again, whatever you want to name it. I think we need to have CAP there. We need to have council representation as well as the chief there. And whenever we meet with them, because it's involving land and everybody should know what's going on in this section. So I make that a motion, please.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept this information. So who would like to move the update from Taylor?
I think I moved it. Did I move it already? Me and Mother.
Okay, moved by Sherry Lynn. So Brooke, can you just update us? I didn't write it down.
Yes, the recommendation 6-1 was moved by Sherry Lynn and seconded by Audrey.
Okay. So it's been moved. So now we have another recommendation. Audrey, what was your recommendation to revitalize a tripartite group?
Well, what do you think? Because I'm just trying to make sure that CAP is involved with everything, as well as council be involved. We need counselors there. And we need the chief there. So you call it tripartite, or you want to call it something else? What do you think, council?
Okay, 1 second. Shirley, can you clarify?
So are you talking about the tri-councils? The Brant County, City of Brantford and us?
I'm talking about getting everybody together. I don't really know what you call it. I want to make sure CAP is there as well. By us means counselors, CAP, and the chief. With the city of Brantford, with Brant County. Is that tripartite or is that a new committee? Call it a meeting.
Okay, so
Not trying to
Audrey's
get back.
motion is to have a meeting, bring together the city, the county, and us all together to discuss the development that's happening surrounding Six Nations. Okay. Okay, and so I have an addition to that, Sherry Lynn, and then Hazel. You have a,
So with that one, can we just add again, if we're just having meetings with Haldeman, Caledonia, Hagersville, that area, what's that, Haldeman, Norfolk, those ones.
Okay.
Also a meeting, just to add, so we got that end plus this end for a meeting.
Go ahead, Helen.
Well, I think it is a good idea to meet with Haldeman because during the walk and going into Cayuga, Cayuga, the mayor, Phil Mentor was telling me he walked with the mayor of Haldeman. And he was informing her all about our land issues and why we're doing this and all of the court case and everything. And she didn't really know anything about what we're going through with our land. So she got really educated from him, but that was walking down the road. So maybe we need to meet with them and tell them all this is why we do these things. She thought, she didn't know anyway. We need to let them know this is why we do these things. This is why, because this is what a lot of them didn't even know that. I don't think people in Cuba even know that it was on our land, but
Okay.
so yeah.
Thank you, Helen, and education will always have to happen, so thank you for your comment. Phil, did you have a comment, or I see your screen came on?
Oh, I don't know, it's just a matter of, we've kind of lost the cohesiveness that we once established and working. It's true, you got to work on these relationships and education. Totally agree with you. The education of, the municipalities. And the CAP team can only go so far in the technical part. But there's got to be this political liaison between the councils. But you're right, absolutely, education is, and the new mayor down there, she's very, very open to learn, and now she understands why, exactly what Helen said, why we were discussing issues. She didn't even know why the county was named Haldeman until, at least I told her that much. So those are the types of things she's very open to learn. Councillor Fraser, Greg, he did a very good explanation of how our relationship's always been through the years, even back to playing hockey in their old cold arena down there. So yeah, we had good, it was a good education all around. So I think, I don't know, you've got a different structure than what we used to have. It takes a lot of time to keep that relationship strong, but be it as it may, it's a different time. So thank you.
Thank you, Phil. And so with that, we have Audrey moving the new recommendation, second by Hazel. Is there any final comments in regards to that recommendation? Audrey.
Yes, I'm hoping it turns into a long-term thing so that we continue it, whether it's downsized a little bit. But that's just what my hope is.
Okay. Yeah, that's been moved. Okay, so we have this motion on the floor and to have a meeting with all our neighboring mayors, political bodies. All in favor? Does anybody oppose? Seeing and hearing none, motion is carried. Okay. So with that, Taylor, you are all set. Thank you. We will see you again next month for your update. A more thorough update. Okay, so moving right along, number 7, do we have any counselor reports? I don't know who's been, Nathan.
Yeah, I'm still because there's so many legal cases in this Métis issue, I'm still working on the briefing note. But essentially, I just wanted to give an update because I did attend with my puppy, the rally on last Wednesday. I know there were challenges getting the bus in. I did see a few of our younger folks walk up towards the end of it, and it was unfortunate because a lot of buses couldn't get in, so our attendance was down at the actual rally. Towards the end, it did pick up though. But overall, it was a good opportunity. They met with a number of MPs, met with opposition. A lot of it was led by Chief McLeod from Nipissing in terms of the meeting. So it wasn't just a rally. They also stayed a few days and held meetings with parliamentarians as well. Waban does have a court case, and that's what I'm waiting on the information. So you guys can get the link and see where that is. Consideration is out there for additional kind of challenges. And it'll be interesting to see the impacts because I don't know, but I haven't heard of any Métis challenging land in this area, but the legislation does open the door for that in terms of that. So I think the impact to us, I think it's something we have to watch, and that's why I want to get the information accurate on the court challenges that are happening now for our contemplation. So that's the update. Well attended. Buses were there as well as could be. There were competing challenges that day because of the anti kind of woke kind of rally that happened as well. But my dog was there providing security to keep everybody out of the in our area.
Thank you, and thank you for all of those that attended last Wednesday, and also for all of us that attended this past weekend. I know we didn't get to, some got to all. Greg, thanks for actually presenting. The chief was there, I know, on Friday, and so well received. And as I was telling, I think it was the Turtle, it is our responsibility that we continue to educate, just like Phil and I were chatting about. So there's a lot of education that still needs to happen. So with that, Greg.
Just further to that point, and I think Phil brought it up, is that these developing these relationships, I think is very important. I think that speaking with a lot of the mayors, yes, there is some ignorance about our court case, what the land actually means to us, what the ultimate tract means to us. And I think that we have to do continual work with this knowledge transfer, this education, and also promoting our values and basically what our goals are in terms of as we move forward with our court case.
Thank you. And so the only matter, or I guess meeting this week will be tomorrow night. We have a general council meeting. Okay. So that I'm moving on to scheduling, and then we have one new addition. So over to Hazel.
Yes, I sent out a email to everyone with regard to renting the community hall, and the requirement being that whoever is renting has to set up and take down tables and chairs. And this is in relation to the veterans upcoming event that's going to occur soon. As I recall from last year, and I know Mark had a concern last year as well, that after the meal, we know those veterans who were in the wars, they're quite elderly and they were up trying to help dismantle table and chairs because the duty was left to the people who rents. And I'm thinking, while I was asked, why can't staff employed at Parks and Rec, who are, it's part of their duty. And I think it's not very accommodating for elderly people to be expected to be out there pulling those tables because they're not the lightest big round table. And everybody respects the hall and that they want to rent the building, but still in all, I think there's something that we should be asking for, and that is for them to not ask people to have to set up and take down. Because if you rent off reserve, you don't have to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. So this came up again because I believe I brought it up last year. Hazel, can you turn your mic off, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, you can hear? Okay. And so I believe we were advised they don't have the staff to do it. Because even yesterday we had a banquet there and we put the tables up, we took them down, and I even asked if we could keep the tables up from Saturday's event because I knew I was going in there Sunday. But you can't. I mean, all of that would help out. So I was there to set up with the vets last year, so I get what you're saying, Hazel, and I guess who takes that forward for us? Where's our?
Like who's doing Dan's job?
Brooke, does she move that forward to talk to Cheryl?
No.
Who's going to do that work? Because I would agree, I am paying a rental fee, so I anticipate that they're gonna be setting up how the venue needs to be. Helen, you had your hand up?
Well, they used to do that, I remember, but I guess council needs to get an update on what's happening, because now my understanding is we got executive director of maintenance that's supposed to be running all the maintenance, so I guess we need to get an update on how that's gonna work and what's gonna happen with the hall and different things, so I think it's time we had an update on some of these new changes that are taking place.
Okay, thanks, Helen, and we're just chuckling over here because I don't think it's an executive director, but there is a lead on maintenance. So with that, Hazel, and then.
Well, I
you
know
have a
he's,
question
I
on
don't
here?
know if he's called an executive director, but he's the top dog of all the maintenance. So I think we need to know what his role is, and is he the one that should be doing the hall and different things, because I don't think council's been informed as this position, because that's the first I heard of it when somebody asked me who was the director of maintenance.
I recall last year in our discussions on the very topic of setting up and taking down at the hall, it was because they did not have enough staff due to pandemic. Remember, everybody was half off, and even now we're still trying to get everybody back into their workstations. So that was the reason that they had asked people to do that, but now it's a whole year later, and I'm sure everybody's back at work. Thank you.
Are you making a motion? No, comment. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment, there are possibly other ways of doing this too, if the staff are not available and the dollars aren't there to pay them. If everyone knows at Bread and Cheese, we get the athletes doing some work around there, giving bread and cheese out and possibly doing other things. And we also have school children, high school children who require those volunteer hours. So there are ways of doing this if you call on the community and they're waiting there. They just need to be organized to do the work. So there are other ways. Thank you.
Okay, so Hazel, you brought this forward. Are you wanting to make a motion or you brought this forward for our information?
Well, I brought it forward hoping that we would all come to some kind of an agreement. I guess it's the matter of who wants to tell Cheryl, but if you recall, prior to COVID, the staff, that was part of their job descriptions. And I'm sure no job descriptions have been revised to say you don't have to dismantle tables and chairs or else put them up. I think it's a continuation of beyond COVID. And that was their jobs back then, so we can continue on with them doing that. So I'll make it a motion.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Audrey?
You just have to make sure that they have enough money. So I think Wayne has to be part of the conversation. And to make sure I'm here, that we have enough money for the staff. Like they say they don't have staff. So because there are no available people, or they have not enough money to pay people. So we should be, that's what we need to know.
Good morning. It's a little more complicated than
Okay.
that, Audrey, to be honest. Parks and Recreation doesn't get direct funding, right? Exactly, and they're a deficit program for that reason. Obviously, there are fees that are collected for use of the community hall and stuff like that. I know that for myself, I just rented someplace in Mount Pleasant recently, and it was my responsibility to put the tables up, take them down. And I know that's true of a few other places that I've rented in the past for Buck and Does and such. But I think that when we're speaking specifically to Parks and Rec, I'm sure that during the pandemic, there were a bunch of issues. Post-pandemic, I know that there's been a lot of challenges on Six Nations, but also outside of Six Nations of getting, retaining talent and staff for the position. So I can't speak directly to Parks and Rec to know what kind of staffing they have at this moment. And if they have a full complement of staff. However, I do know that there would be challenges for them to maintain enough staff to be able to staff things like that. And it would be something that Cheryl would have to come forth and have a discussion about how she would be able to pay that staff. And whether or not the fees that we collected for the rentals helped offset it. Unfortunately, I wasn't here pre-pandemic to know how it used to run or how it paid for itself or did not. I'm not really certain of that, but it's definitely something that we could have a discussion with Cheryl to see what she would require to be able to provide that service to people that are renting the hall.
Hazel, go ahead.
I'm trying to say that prior to COVID, it was the responsibility of the existing employees. So that would be just like us being told, well, you don't have to do this right now. Well, maybe adjustments were made to accommodate COVID, but now we can't keep using COVID as a reason to not get back to this is way beyond us and our decision. This is beyond making elderly people put those chairs up and take them down. And I did feel bad last year. Some of those elderly veterans are like in their late 80s, going into 90s, and you see them struggling up there trying to be helpful, but you're kind of asking for trouble too if some of them fell or whatever. So that's my thoughts anyway. Thank you.
Just just a suggestion that we pass a motion to exempt for that particular event so that staff have to help with the elderly. And then that gives us time to look at the broader issues. So just a suggestion on that. I'd support that too.
I just want to make comments because I know it's on, but I think this is part of a bigger issue. Because I know they have a hard time, I think, getting staff to measure out the ball diamonds and all that kinds of stuff. And they may be going outside of their job descriptions. We don't know what their job descriptions say to do that kind of work. And a lot of it's on weekends. So there's probably, there's a bigger issue with it. I'm sure Jennifer will find out when she looks into it.
Yep, thanks, Helen. Okay, turn your mic off. I would agree, and I would say that the staff that are there, they are very accommodating and very helpful, but there's only a handful of them. And so I understand it. So that motion has been passed and we will do some work. I guess it's Jennifer will be liaising. I'm not sure who's doing the work in the absence of Darren. So you will be liaising with Cheryl and getting back to the full council. Okay, so with that, we have nothing else on today's agenda, so I need somebody to move and adjourn our open. Moved by Sherry Lynn, second by Nathan, all in favor, motion is carried. Thanks, community, for joining us. I do apologize that we didn't have our screens working this morning. But yeah, we will adjourn and go into our in camera. Take care. Yes.